It was supposed to be funny. It started with a harmless dare between couples at a Saturday dinner party, 2 glasses of wine in, and everyone was loose with ideas. Somebody mentioned a role reversal day where husbands do everything the wives normally do. Laundry, dishes, makeup, even dressing up. It got laughs. Everyone giggled. But my wife, Caroline, leaned into it more than anyone else. "I dare you to wear my apron, heels, and serve drinks," she said to me with that teasing grin she always used to in arguments. I chuckled. Sure, why not? It was a joke. But she didn't forget it. The next morning, she had everything laid out: a frilly apron, a pair of shiny black pumps, and even some lipstick sitting on the bathroom counter. "You promised," she said cheerfully. "It was just for the night," I said, already regretting that wine. She tilted her head. "What's the harm in a little fun?" So I did it. Laughed along. She took photos. Her friends sent emojis. Everyone clapped and cheered. I was the hit of the group chat. And when the night ended, I figured that was it. But Caroline? She had other plans. My name is Evan Clark. Or, at least, that's what my driver's license still says. 44 years old. Used to work in IT before I was laid off last year. Caroline runs a successful interior design business from home. We'd been married for 8 years. No kids, not yet. Just 2 people sharing a mortgage, a dog named Bandit, and a pretty normal suburban life. Normal until that joke. You see, after that joke night, Caroline started making little comments. "You were kind of a natural at that. Funny how your legs looked better in heels than mine. Ever think about switching things up once in a while?" I laughed at first, but she wasn't laughing anymore. She started small. One morning, I came downstairs to find she'd reorganized the closet. Her dresses hung in front, mine shoved to the back. "My stuff is easier to access this way," she said innocently. The next week, she offered to cut my hair, just trim it up. But somehow, it ended up styled in a softer, layered look. "Accident," she said with a wink. But the biggest moment came when she gave me a list. A literal printed list. Titled, "Our New Home Roles Just for Fun," smiling face with smiling eyes. Caroline, breadwinner, planner, decision maker. Evan, housekeeper, cook, emotional support, and occasional dress model, grinning face with smiling eyes. I stared at it. She handed me a pink pen to sign. "Humor me," she said. "1 week. Just see what it's like." I laughed again. Always laughing. So I signed. That week, she called me Evie. Only at home. Only in private. I thought it was affectionate. She left out little gifts. A silky scarf. A bottle of body lotion. A pair of slippers with fuzzy hearts on them. At first, I ignored them. Then I started using them. "Feels good, doesn't it?" she'd say casually. I didn't answer. But it did. And that scared me. Caroline hosted dinner a week later. Her 2 best friends came over, Nora and Tanya. "Evie, would you mind serving the wine?" she asked while winking. I froze. They looked at me, smiling. All I had on was my regular clothes, but I could still feel the ghost of that apron. Somehow, I smiled back. "Of course." They giggled. And that night, Caroline kissed my forehead and whispered, "See? You're a natural." I noticed it on a Sunday. Caroline had slowly started sleeping on the left my side. When I asked why, she simply said, "It feels more right." I didn't push it. But that night I noticed she'd also switched our pillows, hers now firmer, mine softer and floral scented. I lay down. The scent was relaxing. I didn't say a word. She asked me to wear something, just to try. A long flowing robe, she bought online, pale blue, with a satin tie. I told her it looked silly. She raised an eyebrow, then whispered, "You wore a dress 2 weeks ago. Remember?" So I put it on. It swirled when I moved. It hugged softly at the waist. And when I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror, I stopped. Caroline walked up behind me, rested her chin on my shoulder, and said, "Beautiful. That's the version of you I always saw. You just needed help seeing it too." I didn't reply, but I didn't take it off either. By now, my days were different. I made breakfast, folded laundry, swept the floor, She handled business meetings, calls, clients. When I made a mistake, she'd tap her fingernail on the counter and say, "Wives have to be more careful." It made me blush. Sometimes I'd argue, push back. But she always had the last word. "You said it was just for fun," she'd remind me. "So, let's keep having fun." It was a small box, addressed to Evie Clark. I stood at the door, stunned. The mailman smiled. "Your wife's name?" he asked. I paused. "No," I said slowly. "Mine." He didn't flinch. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Clark." That night, as I peeled off my gloves after scrubbing the bathroom, I stared at my hands. Smooth, manicured, lotioned. My arms looked thinner, shoulders more sloped, skin glowing. Caroline walked in, holding a necklace. "Let me," she said, and clasped it around my neck. No jokes this time. No laughter. Just silence. And for the first time I wondered, what if I don't want the joke to end? Caroline printed a new weekly schedule and stuck it to the fridge. Each day had a role for me. Sponge Monday, bathrooms. Basket Tuesday, laundry. Fork and knife with plate, Wednesday, meal prep. Shopping bags, Thursday, shopping. Nail polish Friday, self-care and beauty time. I blinked. "Self-care?" I asked. She grinned. "Every good wife deserves a day to stay pretty." I didn't argue. I just nodded. Caroline held up a pleated skirt. "This one's for you, Evie." "I can't wear that outside," I said, heart pounding. "You wore it inside," she said sweetly. "What's the difference?" That Saturday, we walked bandit through the neighborhood. Skirts swishing, legs shaved. I felt seen, and oddly wanted to be. Nora and Tanya came again. This time, they hugged me like one of the girls. Tanya whispered, "Your posture is better now. More natural." Nora added, "You're glowing, babe." Caroline's clearly a great influence. Caroline beamed. I served wine. In ballet flats. She posted a picture of us. Me and wifey enjoying Sunday brunch. Kiss mark bouquet. Comments rolled in. "You two are iconic. Power couple vibes. Evie looks better every week." Nobody asked where Evan went, and I didn't correct them. New rules appeared in the bedroom. 1. Caroline chooses bedtime. 2. No masculine clothes in the bedroom. 3. All appointments hers and mine go through her calendar. I laughed at first. She didn't. So neither did I. She scheduled a facial and mani-pedi for me. Under Evie Clark. The receptionist didn't flinch. They handed me pink slippers. "Right this way, Mrs. Clark," the esthetician smiled. I almost corrected her, but I didn't hate it. She kissed me after dinner. Not a soft wife-to-husband kiss. A dominant, possessive kiss. Like she owned the moment. When she pulled away, she whispered, "Good wives don't lead. They follow." And I felt warm, ashamed, excited, obedient. She recorded me reading a bedtime story, part of a game she called voice softening. Later, she played it back for me. I didn't recognize it. Higher, gentler, more Evie than Evan. She smiled. "Soon, that'll be your real voice." I said nothing, but something in me agreed. She had one maid, Evie Clark homemaker. It sat beside hers on the office door. I told her it was embarrassing. She said, "It's beautiful. Own it." And deep down, a voice whispered, "Maybe it is." I locked the bathroom door, stared at myself in the mirror. Wig, dress, painted nails, pierced ears, and whispered, "What have I become?" But another voice inside softly replied, "What if this is who I was meant to be?" Caroline laid out a new dress, floral, puff sleeves, cinched waist. "For housework," she said. "I can just wear joggers." She cut me off gently. "No, sweetheart. A real wife takes pride in her appearance." So I scrubbed the floors in heels. And when she smiled proudly, I didn't mind. We got caught in the rain coming back from the salon. My makeup ran. My blouse clung. Our neighbor, Mrs. Alden, waved. "Oh, Caroline," she laughed. "Your girl is just darling. I didn't know you had a daughter." Caroline smiled. She's mine in every way. And I smiled back. That night, I dreamed I was back in my old jeans and t-shirt. But they didn't fit. Too tight. Wrong shape. And Caroline watched me from the mirror, shaking her head, whispering, "You know that's not you anymore." I woke up sweating, but not sure if from fear or relief. I picked up Caroline's phone to check the weather. Saw my contact. It wasn't Evan. It wasn't even Evie. It was saved as Basket Wife Sparkling Heart. And I didn't have the strength to ask her to change it. I forgot to put dinner in the oven. She wasn't angry, just disappointed. "No punishment," she said calmly. "But from now on, you'll ask before using the car." And just like that, I realized I didn't have freedom anymore. But I also didn't resist. Her cousin Brooke came to visit. Caroline introduced me as Evie, my housewife. Brooke didn't blink.
"Oh, wow.
"You're just adorable," she said, giving me a hug. She never asked about Evan. And I never brought him up. I found a locked drawer in Caroline's office. She caught me trying to open it. "Evie," she said slowly, "good wives don't snoop." That night, she didn't let me sleep in bed. I slept on the guest futon, in a pink nightgown she picked. And I apologized the next morning. She sat me in front of the mirror, asked me to say, "I am Evie. I am proud. I am hers." Over and over. At first, I couldn't do it. By the 15th time, I almost believed it. She donated all my old clothes. Didn't tell me. Just left a note. "No room for the old you, sweetheart. Trust me." I stood in front of an empty hanger where my leather jacket once hung.
And cried.
Not because it was gone, but because I didn't miss it. She bought matching rings. Hers bold, gold, commanding. Mine delicate, silver, feminine. "I want the world to know you're mine," she whispered as she slipped it on. I stared at my hand. It didn't feel like mine anymore. But I didn't want to take it off. Caroline updated her professional website. Under the About Me section, I noticed something strange. Proud career woman, lifestyle coach, and happily married to my beautiful homemaker wife, Evie. No mention of Evan. No hesitation. I stared at the words, then at her. She just smiled and said, "It's not a lie anymore." She booked a joint salon day. Pedicures, facials, then a hairstylist named Mel. Caroline leaned in and whispered something to her. Before I could react, Mel started shaping my hair into a short, styled bob feminine. Unmistakable. Caroline watched, arms folded.
Pleased.
One morning, she left an envelope on my pillow. Inside was a card titled, "Wife Dress Expectations Effective Immediately. Rules included. No pants or jeans unless approved. Heels or flats only. Hair must be styled daily. Accessories encouraged. No leaving the house without lip gloss." I laughed. She didn't. I followed them. She scheduled a couples branding shoot for her Instagram. I thought I'd wear something neutral. She brought out a lavender midi dress, pearl earrings, and a white clutch. "No one will know," I whispered. "That's the point," she replied. We took over 100 photos. She posted 6. All of me in full wife mode. Comments exploded. "You two are goals. Evie, you're radiant. Can she train my husband too?" My mother called. "Evan, is everything okay?" I froze. It had been months. I barely recognized my own voice. Soft, high, breathy. I'm fine, Mom." There was a pause. Then, "Sweetheart, I saw a picture. On Facebook. Is this really you?" I whispered. "Yes." She said nothing, then hung up. Caroline invited close friends for an anniversary brunch. But it wasn't just brunch. She stood and made a speech. "Evie has blossomed into the wife I always dreamed of. So today, I want to honor her." She pulled out a tiny box. Inside, a delicate diamond chain with a charm. "Ring, property of Caroline." The guests clapped. I flushed. I put it on. One day, I got a message. From Jason, my old college roommate.
"Bro.
What the hell happened? Is this real?" I stared at the screen. My fingers hovered, but I didn't respond. Not because I couldn't, because I didn't know what to say. That night, I asked Caroline, "Can we slow down?" She turned sharply.
No, just that.
Then walked away. And I realized I wasn't being asked anymore. I was being kept. I burned dinner. The sauce boiled over. The pasta was gummy.
She didn't shout.
She just stood behind me and said, "Looks like we need more training." The next day, she signed me up for a homemaker's course online. I finished all 5 modules.
Passed.
With pride. She built a new wardrobe, installed a second closet, told me it was Evie's space. But when I went to check the guest room closet where my old clothes were, it was empty. Not even a sock remained. And on the door hung a wooden sign, "Evie's room only, kiss mark." I realized I no longer had space in my own home, except the one she gave me. Caroline handed me a new credit card. Pink, glittery, with the name, Evie Clark, authorized dependent. I blinked. I thought we shared finances. "We do," she smiled. "But wives don't need to worry about bills, do they?" She kissed my cheek. And just like that, I stopped checking the bank account. Someone messaged me on Instagram. A man named Marcus. "You're stunning. Your eyes, wow." I didn't reply. But I didn't delete it either. Caroline noticed. Said nothing. The next morning, she reset all my passwords. "Too many distractions," she murmured. We were invited to a business dinner, one of Caroline's top clients. I assumed I'd wear something neutral. Instead, she laid out a fitted black pencil dress, sheer tights, and heels. "No one will even know I used to be." She cut me off. "Used to be what?" I couldn't answer. So, I wore the dress. The client's wife leaned in and asked me, "So, Evie, what do you do?" Before I could speak, Caroline answered, "She takes care of me. Full-time." Everyone smiled. I smiled too. But my heart sank a little. Was that all I was now? She made a binder. Evie's Duties was written in curly gold ink. Inside were meal plans, monthly budgets, ironing guides, makeup routines, behavior checklists. I flipped through in silence. It wasn't a joke anymore. It was a life. While she was out, someone knocked on the door. Marcus.
Tall.
Confident.
Smiling.
I was in the neighborhood. Thought I'd say hi. I panicked. Told him I couldn't talk. He handed me a flower anyway. Caroline returned 20 minutes later. She never said a word. But that night, she locked my bedroom door from the outside. I stared at myself in the mirror. Hair curled, lips glossed, sleeves puffed, and whispered, "I don't even know who I am anymore." But a smaller voice in my chest replied, "You're Evie. You're hers. And you like it." I reached for a hoodie one morning.
She stopped me. Calmly.
No more hiding. She went to the closet, pulled out every leftover gender-neutral item, and donated them. That day, I stepped out in public fully dressed, no disguise, no escape plan. And no one even blinked. I thought about applying for remote work. Sent out 2 resumes under the name Evan Clark. They came back rejected. Caroline found the emails.
She didn't yell.
She just whispered, "You don't need to chase the old world. You've built a better one with me." And I believed her. One night, we ate dinner in silence. No teasing. No instructions. No smiles. She finally looked up and asked, "Do you miss being the man?" I didn't answer, because I didn't know. But I also didn't want to go back. Caroline slid a stack of documents across the table. I skimmed them. Name change request. Joint asset consolidation. Emergency contact updates. Each form now listed Evie Clark as the official identity. "Don't worry," she said. "Just sign where I highlighted." My hands trembled, but I signed. Her parents came over. I expected awkwardness. But instead, her mother hugged me tightly. "We're so proud of the woman you've become." Her father added, "She takes after you, Caroline. Strong women raise strong homes." I served tea in heels and pearls. Nobody even mentioned Evan. My new driver's license arrived. Name: Evie Clark. Gender: F. I stared at it for a long time. It didn't feel fake. It felt like it fit. And for the first time, I smiled while holding it. She moved my old documents, birth certificate, degree, awards into a locked fireproof safe. When I asked for access, she just kissed my forehead. "You don't need those anymore, sweetie." And deep down, I agreed. Caroline showed a short video of me at her women's retreat. I was arranging flowers, in a blouse and skirt, smiling. The group applauded. "You've made her the perfect wife," one woman said. Caroline nodded. "She made herself. I just helped her see it." And they toasted to me. She bought me a necklace with a heart-shaped pendant. Inside, a tiny photo of us, me in full Evie mode, smiling in her arms. "You belong to me," she whispered, fastening it on. I wore it every day afterward. In the garage, I found one last box labeled Evan stuff. Inside, a razor, a cologne bottle, and a faded leather wallet. I stared at them like archaeological ruins. Then, I packed them away without telling her, and never opened the box again. Caroline installed a full-length mirror in the walk-in closet. Every morning, she made me spin in front of it. "Smile," she'd say. "Posture. Breathe like a lady." I obeyed. And eventually, I didn't need to be told. She signed me up to give a small talk as Evie at a women's empowerment brunch. I nearly fainted, but I stood at the podium, heels shaking, heart pounding. "My name is Evie Clark," I said softly, "and I used to live a different life." The crowd leaned in. No judgment, only applause. Caroline took me aside after the event. She held my hands gently. "Say goodbye," she whispered. "To who?" I asked.
To him.
I stared into her eyes and said, "Goodbye, Evan." We didn't speak the rest of the ride home, but I knew the chapter had closed. A gold-trimmed envelope arrived. "You are formally invited to the Clark Foundation Gala. Formal attire required." Caroline's name was printed boldly. Mine was listed as Mrs. Evie Clark. Not Evan. Not a +1. I was being presented. Caroline took me to a boutique. The saleswoman smiled. "You must be the wife." I flushed. Caroline selected a deep emerald satin gown. It hugged every curve I didn't know I had. "It's perfect," she said. "You're perfect." I didn't argue. Jason, my old friend, called again. This time I answered. "Evan," he asked. I stayed silent. He continued. "I saw the event photos. You're in heels, man." I whispered, "Please don't call me that." The line went quiet. Then, "She's turned you into someone else." I hung up, then blocked him. Caroline rehearsed my walk, my greeting, my posture,
My laugh.
It wasn't cruel. It was precise. "You're not pretending anymore," she said. "You are the wife." And somewhere inside, I believed it. The night before the gala, we kissed. Not playfully, not out of obligation, but like she was kissing her wife. And I didn't resist. In fact, I kissed her back harder. The gala lights were warm, guests everywhere. She introduced me around. "This is my wife, Evie." Some shook hands. Some hugged me. No one questioned anything. I floated through the night like it was normal. Because it had become normal. Caroline whispered, "Follow me." She led me to a back room. Inside, a table with my old clothes.
Jeans.
Sneakers.
Watch. Cologne.
I stared at them. "Choose," she said. "One last time." I reached out, hand trembling, then stepped back. "I'm not him anymore." She smiled. Tears welled in her eyes. "Then let's finally let him go." She lit a match and dropped it on the pile. Caroline was honored at the gala. She took the stage. "And behind every powerful woman," she said, "is a wife who makes her stronger." She looked straight at me. The crowd applauded. Some laughed. Some nodded. I beamed. At the after-party, a man flirted with me. Caroline noticed. She didn't get jealous. She pulled me close and whispered, "You only dance with me."
So I did.
All night, in heels that now felt like home. We stood outside as fireworks burst in the sky. She held me close. "You're not trapped," she said softly. "You're chosen." And as I leaned my head on her shoulder, I finally whispered, "Then I choose this too." It arrived by post. My name, Evan Clark, printed neatly on the envelope. Inside, a formal letter from my old company. "We've reconsidered your departure. A new management position is open. Your skill set is needed. Full salary. Travel. Identity optional." I stared at the signature. Mark Robbins, VP. He knew.
He still wanted me. I didn't tell Caroline.
But that night, I typed a response. Just a draft. "Dear Mark, thank you for the offer." I didn't hit send, but I left the browser tab open. She found it. Didn't speak to me for 2 days. "I trusted you," she said quietly. No yelling. Just pain. "I wasn't going to accept it," I whispered.
But you considered it, she snapped.
"You thought about going back." I tried to explain. She stood up and simply said, "If you want to be Evan again, then leave." I didn't move. I just cried. I packed a small bag. Not to leave.
Just to think.
I stayed in the guest room. No wig. No makeup. No perfume. But I didn't feel like Evan. I just felt empty. She placed a mirror in the guest room. On it a note. "Who do you see?" I stared. Not Evan. Not fully Evie. Just a hollow soul in between. I broke down sobbing. Mark emailed again. "Final call. Are you ready to reclaim yourself?" I typed one word.
No.
Then deleted the message. Then cleared my inbox. I walked back into our bedroom. Knelt at her feet. "I choose this. I choose you. I was afraid, but I'm not running anymore." She touched my cheek. Then whispered, "Then stand up and take your place beside me. Forever." She handed me a folder. Inside, a legally notarized document. "Evie Clark, co-owner, Clark Women's Institute." "You're not just my wife," she said. "You're my partner." I couldn't breathe. I had a life now. A real one. At the grand opening of her new women's center, she held my hand tightly. Cameras flashed. She leaned in and whispered, "Smile, my wife."
And I did. Genuinely.
Fully. I visited my old office one last time. Not for the job. Just to see. My name was gone. New faces. New desks. No one recognized me. Except the receptionist. She blinked. Then smiled. "Mrs. Clark, right?" I nodded. And walked out. Caroline made it official. "We're hosting a vow renewal," she told me. "But we're already married." "Yes," she smiled. "But this time you walk down the aisle." I froze. Publicly. As Evie. She spared no expense.
Custom gown.
Corseted bodice. Layers of ivory silk. I tried it on. The reflection showed a woman I barely recognized. And yet it felt more real than any tux I ever wore. Caroline insisted we write our own vows. I stared at the blank page for hours. Finally, I wrote, "You didn't force me to be your wife. You showed me the woman I always was. And now, I never want to go back." Old friends, her parents, even co-workers. No one called me Evan. Everyone greeted Evie with hugs, compliments, admiration. They didn't just accept me.
They celebrated me.
The photographer directed us. Caroline stood behind me in most of them, her hand possessive, supportive on my waist. I wore the veil, the ring, the new name. She wore the confidence of someone who had won. And honestly, we both had. Near the end of the reception, someone approached me. "Jason." I stiffened, but he smiled genuinely. "Look, I didn't get it before," he said.
He paused.
"But you're happier now than I've ever seen you." I hugged him, not as Evan, as Evie. That night, I signed one final paper. A declaration of legal gender change. Under it I wrote in careful pen, "Evie Grace Clark." And it felt like freedom. Caroline opened the fireproof safe, pulled out my old ID, diploma, passport. "All of it's yours," she said, "if you want it back." I stared at the documents. then shook my head slowly. Burn it.
She did.
No ceremony. No hesitation. Just ashes. A local journalist interviewed us for a piece on empowerment. She asked, Evie, what's the hardest part about becoming someone else? I smiled softly. I didn't become someone else, I said. I became honest. That night, Caroline poured wine. We curled up on the couch. She whispered, there's one more surprise. But it changes everything. I turned to her. What? She leaned close, lips brushing my ear. I'm not just your wife now. I'm your boss. I blinked. Then she handed me a folder. Inside, Contractual Feminization Agreement Phase 2. My heart stopped, and the screen fades to black. I read the folder she handed me. Phase 2. Full Role Integration Confidential Agreement. Inside were clauses. Dozens. A no access to finances without approval. Daily wardrobe curated by Caroline. Speech modulation training. Submissive posture exercises. Domestic performance reviews. Public consistency clause. Never refer to past male identity. It was intense. Unbelievable. I laughed nervously. You're joking, right? She didn't laugh. Caroline, I thought this was about love. It is, she said softly. But you agreed you were ready. Now you can either live this fully or keep pretending it's temporary. She slid a pen across the table.
You don't have to sign.
But if you don't, we pause everything. I froze. Everything? The home. The marriage. The support. The protection. I need time, I whispered. She nodded. You have 48 hours. The next morning, I wore sweats for the first time in weeks. No makeup. No perfume. Just me. And I hated it. People stared at the store. Confused. Curious. One woman whispered, Is that Caroline's wife? I walked faster. Caroline posted a photo of herself alone on Instagram. The caption, Some journeys are best taken alone. For now. The comments exploded. Where's Evie? Are you okay?
No.
What happened to your beautiful wife? My heart pounded as I scrolled. Had I already lost everything? That night, I went to the walk-in closet. All my dresses were gone, replaced with an envelope. Inside, a single note. Come find me if you're ready to surrender. Kiss mark. And a location. I sat in the car, holding the contract, trembling. The address led to a large estate outside the city, the Clark Institute for Feminine Excellence. A private women's retreat. It looked strict. Beautiful, but strict. A woman in a silk blazer greeted me. Evie Clark? I nodded. She smiled. We've been expecting you. I had 1 hour to sign. Or walk away. Forever. They gave me tea. Satin robe. Soft lighting. I stared at the dotted line. Pen in hand. Did I want this? Was I really ready to give up the last piece of him? Or was I already long gone? The pen shook in my hand. I heard her voice in my mind. You belong to me. This is who you are. You're not trapped. You're chosen. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, lowered the pen, cut to black. Did Evie sign the contract or walk away forever? Speech balloon, tell us what you think in the comments. Bell, like, share, and subscribe for part 2 coming soon maybe. Brain, would you have signed if you were in Evie's place?